Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight we have a very special guest that's impacting his community in several different avenues, ventures, and impactful ways that he is influencing his community. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about our guest tonight, Mr. Victor Johnson. Victor is a highly rated inspirational and transformational speaker, youth advocate, business coach, real estate entrepreneur, and published author based out of Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. He is also the community outreach coordinator on the mortgage team for Prosperity Bank, where he develops strategies to create more homeowners in the Black communities of Texas and Oklahoma. Victor spent 17 years managing and developing dozens of leaders in call centers, leading team processes and relationships. At age 41, he began his rental property portfolio, and at age 44, he published his first book, Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness. Since then, Victor has impacted well over 250,000 lives throughout his stage appearance, his Mindset Monday post, and his YouTube channel, Create Your Future Self. He now has 8+ years of experience as a professional speaker, real estate entrepreneur, and business and real estate investing coach, having created dozens of successful real estate investors. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Victor Johnson. Hello, Mr. Johnson. How are you, sir?
Brother Charles King, good to hear from you, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. Is there anything else you'd like our audience to know as we start this wonderful learning situation that you're about to dish out for us?
No, I'm just thankful that you put together this podcast, America in Black and White. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, because for us to address any of our historical challenges and obstacles, we got to confront them. And you have done a great job of putting on guests and different people and topics that can help us as a Black, as a white community, even non-Black or white, to understand how we're going to move forward in America. So I just thank you for the opportunity to join your platform today.
Well, I thank you very much for being here. As we delve into this and looking at the many areas in which you have put yourself in, first of all, I want to know, with all those different things, how do you actually go out to the community, reach out to these people, and actually engage them and pull them into the things that you're doing?
So, taking action, collaborating with a lot of different entities, whether that's churches, whether that's trade associations, whether that's other banks, lenders, community activists, you name it, schools, and just collaborating where we know that there's a need, where there's a gap. I'll reach out to them many times, especially now that I'm with the bank, in my community outreach role. My job is to literally go out and find opportunities to connect with people where we can provide education on how to position yourself better for home mortgages, to get approved for a home loan, to help figure out and understand the basics of banking. We collaborate with experts on credit, on lending and banking and investing. And really the whole thing is to share information to, a lot of times our gap comes from the lack of knowledge, right? I mean, there are the barriers that have happened historically, and there's still probably some out there now, but many of the obstacles that we face are just due to lack of knowledge. And, I'm in a position where I get access to a lot of good information. I've had experiences of my own and, overcoming my own personal credit challenges at one point in the low 500s and going through the obstacles and steps to improve my credit, improve my budgeting, to build better relationships and to develop myself personally so that I could get better jobs, better paying jobs. And then with that information, learning to invest in rental properties, building something that at some point will be a tremendous legacy that my kids and my family can look back on, but also community members. And I just enjoy, God gifted me with the ability to communicate and have influence. And I don't take that lightly. When you open your mouth, people are listening. And, I want to be credible. I want to be honest. I want to be authentic. and I want to have something that can add value. And so I just collaborate with anybody that's aligned with those things.
So, as we're talking about the real estate part, tell me, how did you get to work with the community bank to create the program that you created, and what's been the impact of that?
So the first part is how I got connected was, when you're consistent and you do the work that you're supposed to do, people notice, people pay attention to it, and opportunities will present themselves. And the good book says that your gift will make room for you. And probably a year ago, the bank decided that, as all banks, they had to do more to help our Black community from the lending perspective, not just with mortgages, but commercial and small business loans, even bank accounts. They had to do more in the places that they're chartered. And they call that your CRA requirement, the Community Reinvestment Act. Community Reinvestment Act requires that financial institutions must do enough work, whether that's through lending, through sponsorship, through volunteerism in the communities that they are chartered. And so the bank took a different approach, Prosperity Bank, and said, not only are we going to do those requirements, but we're going to build a team to ensure that we're not just showing up as a lender. Like, we really want to contribute. We want to, volunteer. We want to, make a difference in the community. And my name came up as somebody who was already doing that. We got to this point where it was a good pairing for my talents and what they had going on. And, we're able to help a lot of people by, again, doing these different events. I'm part of a team of only 3 of us, and we cover the entire state of Texas and Oklahoma, over 280 banking centers. But it's 3 of us that run our community outreach team. And we have created a program called the Empowerment Series. And the Empowerment Series is 6 different financial literacy modules where we go over everything from the basics of banking, your FICO scoring and how that impacts your life, to the full home buyer perspective and process, to small business loans, and also for what we call condos and classes to educate, young adults on how they can become homeowners and investors in their early 20s, And so we're able to take this program and partner with Black churches and trade associations and different groups to educate the community. If people decide that we are a trustworthy and credible resource to get their lending from, that's all the better. But really, it's about making an impact positively. And we've seen a great response, just, again, being consistent. And we're seeing people take the steps that they need to move the needle with their finances, with their, ability to purchase a home.
Wow. That sounds like a whole lot, but
It is.
How is it that you 3 guys can cover 2 states like that? What's the plan? What was the strategy behind that whole thing?
Right. So the strategy is to leverage the partnerships with our banking teams, right? So reaching out to the banking centers and make sure that they've already got the relationships with the customers that they're working with. They also know their landscape, their market better than we do, but we educate them on the ways that we're going to be a difference maker in the Black community, particularly. And, we got trust issues, especially when it comes to banks. So this is a slow roll. We're not just jumping out here, hey, come to us and get money. No, it's about, again, educating, building credibility, showing that we're truly authentic and we're there. And so we partner with the different banking center teams, the mortgage lenders in those areas, the other relationships that they may already have with Black chambers. Also, my director, she is out of the Houston market, and she's the executive committee chair on the housing committee for the NAACP. So she's already got the trust there, and we've been able to, leverage that partnership with their, I think it's over 100 chapters just in Texas alone. And yeah, we're getting out here and getting after it. I mean, I'm in Jacksonville, Texas this past Saturday. A week ago, I was in Austin, Texas. I'm in Frisco. I'm in Plano. We're getting all over. But we're also educating those banking center teams so that when we build those relationships, they can continue to nurture and, add value to those folks. So that was a big part of it. And honestly, just being truthful, a lot of it takes educating, the bank that, Black people are not just what you call LMI, not just low to moderate income consumers. We got affluent, we got middle class, we got people just like every other race in all financial sectors. And so part of it is also making sure that people in those middle and upper class sectors understand that we are a resource. We are the second largest land lender in the state of Texas. And, again, we've got great products and we just want to make sure people understand this stuff. But even if they don't borrow money from us, we just want to leave a footprint that we have made a difference from the educational side of finances, because many of us, we miss out on that. We don't have it in schools. So we get out and make sure that we can share the information so that people can make a difference for their families.
So how long has this program been in existence?
So the Empowerment Series, we just kicked it off January 2024. I've been with the bank since the summer of 2023. And, we have really hit the ground running. We've made some tremendous impact. It seems like a small team of three, and we're actually looking for somebody in the Austin market. But we've been tag teaming the Central Texas area, and that's been going on again since last summer, 2023.
So, what are your numbers looking like now as far as your Black purchasers for homes in the state of Texas? How is that looking?
Well, it's slowly increasing. Part of it is the market in general. Like if white people, Hispanic people, Asians, Blacks, a lot of people are squeamish to purchase right now because interest rates are different than they were during the pandemic. Even though, we've never really seen 3% and 4% interest rates in the mortgage market outside of that spectrum of time, people still are like, whoa, they're 6%, they're 7%. So they're like, it's not the right time to buy. So that's part of it. But we're starting to see interest rates come down, especially from where they were in the fall of 2023. The other part of it is the affordability factor. Home values have shot up through the roof over the last 2 to 3 years. So there's that part of it. If people are still earning the same amount of money they were earning pre-pandemic or even during the pandemic, it may be harder for them to buy homes that are now 10, 15, 20, even 30% in some parts of the country higher than they were during that time of period or, prior to the pandemic. So you still have that going on. But to answer your question more specifically, what we also have done is created a loan product that we call Access. And what that is basically those homeowners that are in majority minority census tracts, we have created a product that will help them to maintain the same interest rate that they may have acquired during the pandemic at 3-4%, whatever it was, but you can still leverage the equity through a home equity line of credit or an equity loan. And we've been able to help people from that perspective. And those numbers we've seen, again, it's a slow roll, but I'll say that we've seen probably about a 5 to 10% uptick just in the 2 months that product's been rolled out. It rolled out at Thanksgiving. So, holiday season and all that, but we expect great numbers through Q1 and through Q2. So I'll have to update you as we get deeper into the year.
Okay. I also heard you mention, people that were investing and you teaching people how to do investment properties. How do you guys do that? Is that like with workshops, seminars? How does that happen?
So I also have my own company called Nico Don Projects, and I do business as Be the Victor Consulting. You can visit me at www.bethevictor.us. And that's what I've actually been doing for the last 8 years. My wife and I have been buying single family properties and duplexes, renovating those and renting them out. So because of my experience and the training that I've had and the 10,000 plus hours of actual real estate investing that we've done, I've been able to, on a select individual basis, work with individuals that want to get involved with real estate investing on the residential side of things. And so I've been able to still take on a small select group of clients that are serious, that want to move a little bit faster than just scrolling on Instagram and TikTok or YouTube to learn this information, to actually have somebody guide them through the process. And so I've been able to do that through my business entity and through other, again, partnerships that I have in the community to help me to be a good resource for folks that are looking to get involved with real estate investing. From the bank side of things, we do have commercial lenders that can walk them through the best strategies, the best loan products to pursue real estate investing. And there are tons of ways to do it, but that is how I've been able to use my experience, expertise, and resources to help people to get involved with real estate investing on the residential side.
Wow. So that's actually interesting. How many new companies or groups of people have you guys actually, if you just can take like a small sample size, like what's the percentage of those people that you've got into investing?
So I now only take on 5 clients per quarter because I spend 90 days with individuals and walk them through the entire process of the analytics, how to identify the right properties, what is the strategy for financing those properties, how to find and manage those investment properties. And so I've only taken on 5 at a time. Again, I have a couple of team members that help me with that part of it. Over the last 4 years, since 2020, I have coached 36 individuals, and I would say that 60% of them have successfully purchased their first investment property, if not their second or third by this point in time. So I'm not a big conglomerate. I'm not like some of these bigger names where they're going to charge you $150,000 and give you a bunch of books and videos and go at it. I'm actually walking people through the process, helping them. I had a guy call me for an hour last night on his first deal, and he's nervous, of course. We've gone through all the steps, but he's nervous. He's actually doing it. And I take that time to really help people while they're actually doing this stuff. And so those are real numbers. And that's, something I'm passionate about, is seeing people to be able to purchase real estate, because I've seen how it changed my life and my family's life by getting involved with investing in rental properties.
So I noticed here another one of the many things you do. It says that that you are a youth advocate. What is that?
So another sector of what I do is a company called Create Your Future Self Youth Program. That is a for-profit entity. In 2019, I submitted what you call an RFP, a request for proposal, with the Dallas Independent School District. I was awarded to do a entrepreneur, financial literacy, and character building program for high school age students. Well, many people may remember around March of 2020, the schools and everything else shut down during that time. So I was not able to execute that program in the school district, but I had already done the work to put together the proposal. So I found some other grant programs locally, Big Thought, Dallas City of Learning, that I was able to partner with. And they funded, for the last 4 years in the summertime, they fund a summer program for me to do the Create Your Future Self Youth Program. And again, we work with high school age students with that program, college age students. And now this last year, I've been very fortunate with my team, been able to partner with a local school district here, actually 3 of them, and 2 middle schools that we are doing weekly mentorship programs. And it's only for 8th grade males. So we are showing these young men how to have proper hygiene, how to shake hands, look people in their eyes, how to speak with confidence, how to create a budget, understanding income and expenses and net worth and all these different things. I bring in community leaders and community experts in different industries. They've met the mayor of the city. It's all about exposing these young men to a variety of things so that they can say, I didn't realize that might be a possibility for me. And so I'm really, it's the one thing that I'm able to really be proud of, because I built it from ground up. And now I'm, again, I've impacted well over 2,500 kids in the last 4 years between the summer program and the high school and colleges that I've been able to come into as a speaker or bring in our Create Your Future Self youth program workshops.
So, so in doing that with the youth, um, can you tell me, like, with these young men that you're working with your mentorship program, besides teaching them the things that you guys teach them, are you guys also leading and preparing them for life as they get to be older young men? I mean, and when I say that, I'm talking about like, do you teach them how to become entrepreneurs? Do you teach them how to dress in business attire? Do you teach them to do some of the things that you do? Like, do you teach them to speak? You know, do you do any of those things?
Absolutely. That is the premise of the program. It's a leadership program. So we're teaching them how, again,
Right.
to speak with confidence, shake hands. We have brought in different people from different industries to teach them how they got started in their business, understanding about how to do even an interview. One fun thing that I can share with you about the program, the middle school program, is that we did a session on how to do an interview, how to conduct themselves, how to wait to be seated until they ask you to sit down, shake hands, look people in the eye. They served as the interviewer and the interviewee. And we got feedback from a couple parents that said, "Oh my God, my son came home and shared with some of the things you guys talked to them about in that interview session we call that program Pathfinders Leadership Program, the 8th grade male program." And that helped two parents in their next interviews, right? We talked to these young men about credit scores and how, that impacts is just like a report card, and how in the real world as grown-ups, you don't have a report card. You got a credit score, and we really apply to make it relatable. It's fun, engaging. We use interactive tools to keep them locked in. And we're constantly, again, leveraging others in the community that know how to communicate with youth. Again, I've got experience with it, but I don't want them to just sit there listening to me for an hour each week. I like to bring in other experts so they get a different look and feel for what's really happening in the real world. We talk to them about how their behavior, when you do something wrong in school, it goes on a record. It goes on a record at the school, and that next step could lead to you having a record outside of school, right? And how, we know that, I don't teach 3rd grade in elementary school, but we know that if you're not reading by the 3rd grade, that you have about an 80% chance of going to jail when you grow up, right? So we want to share the hard facts with these young men so that they understand that, look, you might think it's all fun and games right now, but how you act has a direct impact on not only yourself, but others around you. And we call it Pathfinders because we want them to create their own pathway. These young men are about to head into high school, and they may be the big man on campus in the 8th grade, but they'll be the little man on campus next fall. And so we just want to share with them how important it is for them to act with integrity, how they're always being watched, and they should always be carrying themselves to the best of their ability.
Wow. So with Pathfinders, when did you come up with that, and what made you decide to create the Pathfinders program?
So I had a great meeting with the superintendent of schools here in the Carrollton Farmers Branch School District in just north of Dallas, Texas. And she's a newer superintendent to this district, but has a great history of helping underserved communities. And we had a coffee breakfast one day. I told her about the Create Your Future Self Youth Program and how I would love to get an established program in the high schools. And she had a great idea that, we need to catch them a little younger. Would you put together a program for middle school kids, 7th and 8th graders? And we locked in on 8th grade because, again, they're getting ready to head to high school. And so we came up with the program. I basically just kind of slightly modified the high school version of the program so that it would be a little bit more palatable for 8th graders, and represented it to her and her team. They loved it. And somebody on the team said, we got to give this a name. We got to give it something that stands out. And I toyed around with a few names, but I really loved the Pathfinders name because, again, that is someone who creates their own path. We really want them to understand you don't have to follow behind what somebody else is doing, especially somebody doing foolishness and negativity. And so this school year, 2023, 2024, is our inaugural year with the Pathfinders Leadership Program. And we're already getting great reviews on that. We've been tracking the stats, the attendance records. The school partners with me to let me know about certain ones that may be having grade challenges. And we really want to be a solution. So we help them figure out ways in partnership with the school, with the coaches, with the parents to find ways to get these young men where they need to go.
So let me ask you this. Do you have kids?
I do.
So with your kids, I mean, like, what is the difference in how you actually, I'm sure that you're teaching your kids the same thing.
Man, my kids are grown. My kids are grown up. And that's why, man, I'm not ashamed to say it, brother. I'm 49 years old now. Soon to be 50. I have kids in their 20s. I got 2 grandbabies, a 2-year-old grandson, a 4-year-old granddaughter. And that's really why this program means so much to me, is because I wasn't always the sharpest father. I was about getting after that money and, getting out here and hustling to, keep the bills paid. And I may not have spent as much time as I should have with my kids when they were at the age of some of these young men that I'm coaching now. And it really gives me a sense of pride to be able to help impact these young men. Now, we have great conversations now, even as they're adults, and we're talking differently, though. It's not the same conversation we would talk to them about at 13 or 14 years old, right? And, hopefully now that I'm a little bit more sage and a little bit grayer on the chin, I can impart a little bit more wisdom for them to hopefully have them be, a little bit more impactful parent than I probably was at that age.
Oh, man. Power to you. This is what happens. These are the good things that people need to know about.
Yes, sir.
So, who was the person that inspired you so much when you was coming up to become the person that you are now? Who was your inspiration?
I give a lot of credit to quite a few people, so bear with me here. One, my mother, Valerie K. Lewis. She was, single mom her entire life. Well, she got married to a gentleman when I was 5 or 6 years old, but for the most part, she was, a single mom. My father was involved. He was involved financially and did some things there, but she would be the first person that I would say. She taught me how to be a grinder, a hustler, to get after it. Her famous saying is, as a young black male, you got to give 110%, son. So that was something that stayed with me. And watching her do what she had to do to make sure that I was fed, that we had the lights on, we always had a comfortable living situation. My mother hustled to make sure that I was in private schools. So I got, premium education compared to some of my peers, aside from her. My grandmother, Pearlie Mae, she's no longer with us, but Pearlie Mae was the woman that was a single mom for a good portion of her life as well. And she purchased a home in San Francisco, California in 1961 for about $21,000. She kept that home. She upgraded that home. She maintained that home and raised her kids and some of her grandkids in that home. And that home, 2007, before the first little boom, that house was worth $1.3 million from $21,000. So she taught me the importance of get some real estate, son, as soon as you can. Get some real estate, manage your money, always spend less than you earn. I didn't always listen, but I always had that lesson there. And she was always, critical about me reading and cleaning up after myself. So all of those matter. How you do a thing is how you do everything, right? So getting up, making my bed, I've been making my bed every day of my life since I was probably 5 years old, and those type of habits stick with you. As I got a little bit older, 15, 16, my dad, Ernest Victor Johnson, he was, is a very sound, highly intellectual man. He also was one of the original Black Panthers in the Oakland chapter, San Francisco chapter. My sisters were part of the first breakfast program that the Black Panthers put together. That they don't always talk about those good things that those groups play, but he was part of that. He was a postman, retired. He was an educator, retired. He still gives back to the community. So these are just family members. But I've always had mentors. Dr. Joseph Marshall out of San Francisco with the Omega Boys Club. He was a big factor in my teenage life. He introduced me to speaking, Charles. At 15, he used to throw me in front of my homeboys at the juvenile center and talk to them about, man, when you get out of here next week, man, come up to the boys club, man. They feed us. We play basketball, man. And of course, they always pour good knowledge into us. And to all of these people and so many others, we don't have time, but those are people that saw something in me before I saw something in myself. And they made sure that I stayed, even when I got just outside the guardrails. They had the bumpers right there, where they kind of nudged me right back into shape. And again, I'm just so blessed to have so many people, and I can't forget my beautiful wife, Latasha Johnson, who's the top-ranked realtor here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She got me cleaned up when I was out here acting crazy, and thought that I was the man and heavily egocentric. And she showed me how to be compassionate with my kids and how to, just do things a little bit more strategically. And so I'm a life learner, man. And I look at every person and everything as an opportunity to become better. And that's how I live my life.
Wow. So why did you decide after being put out front when you was a young teenager? Why did you decide to become a speaker?
So great story. I told this at my Toastmasters speaking event one time. So because I was doing these juvenile center talks, I think it was like on Thursdays or something, and I did probably 5 or 6 of them. Dr. Marshall thought that I was doing pretty good, that I could speak with confidence, if nothing else. And I had a pretty good command of the English language, again, at 15, 16 years old. And then an opportunity came up where he sent us to a Black college tour that took us to Howard University, Norfolk and Hampton up in the DC, Virginia area. This was 1990. Okay. So I had an opportunity to speak in front of the National Black Caucus that particular weekend. And I just remember, it's hundreds of Black delegates, and I don't even know who was in the room. I wish I could go back and see who was in that room. I'm sure it was some pretty heavy hitters in there. But I gave a very short speech, and I think maybe I was nervous because when I first got up to the podium, I was very hoarse and could barely get the grasp on my tone and everything. And I saw this, Black lady walk down the aisle and set a little hot cup of tea on the podium, took a couple sips. I was good, and I gave my speech that I thought about and prepared. And all I remember is ending it with, I just want to be impactful like people like Sojourner Truth, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, like myself. And when I said that room erupted and I was locked in, Charles. I said, I want to be a speaker. that got me locked in, man. And I just always have, worked on my craft and spoke at every opportunity I can. I picked up more words and just continue to be, again, a learner,
Wow. So how does speaking coincide with you being an author?
Oh, man. So I released my book, Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness, back in December of 2018. And again, it's about my journey of improving my credit score and improving myself and getting better jobs, and then taking that increased income and investing into rental properties. So it's kind of a mindset journey, the book itself. And so when you release a book, well, people want you to talk about the book. And so I got a few invites from the colleges locally. Hey, would you come out and talk to our, male achievement group at Dallas College? Or, just different people invite you out. And again, that was really something I was very serious about doing on a professional level. Like, I really want to be a paid speaker. That's kind of what I looked at. And I said, well, the book is a great way to introduce me to the world. And people started calling me to come out, and just so happens I'm a pretty effective speaker. And so, that has allowed me is put me in rooms that I otherwise may not have been able to get into. And one thing I'll tell your listeners, you truly are worthy of whatever your gift is. Like, you got to really step into it, and don't be so afraid that people are going to judge you. They're going to judge you anyway, whether you're good or bad. So just go do it. Do what you got to do. And as I started getting out and doing more, started meeting more people, and I got a lot to talk about. I bring a lot of value because I'm constantly reading and researching and living and trying and failing and losing and winning. And all these things have given me enough ammo to get out here and be a great speaker. And so now I have an opportunity. I've been, full-time entrepreneur, employed entrepreneur. So a lot of entrepreneur groups will call me out and they'll pay me to come speak to their room of folks to lead them with true value, actionable items that they can walk away with and apply to their life right then and there. And so that has helped me to expand my speaking career.
Tell me, how does it feel to impact lives the way you have?
It really is a blessing, man. I couldn't have imagined it happening this way. It's one of the things that I say is that I just would love to leave more than I take from this earth before I leave. And, I get an opportunity now, especially now with the bank. I'm doing a speaking event 4 or 5 times a week, just even through the bank, or whether it's platforms like this. And, what really makes me feel good is when somebody reaches back out and says, hey, man, something you told me at that speech 2 years ago caused me to take action on something, and now I'm doing this. Or even better, I've not only done this, but I've been able to help several other people from that. Like, it's that gift that keeps on giving. And, it's just a great feeling, man. And I'm just so blessed and thankful to be in this situation. I wake up every single morning thanking God that I have this opportunity to have an influence, to make a positive impact. And again, I don't take it for granted. I don't want to ever misguide people. So I always want to make sure I'm just speaking from real life truth and things that I've lived myself. It's a great feeling. It really is.
So, I guess to make it a whole lot more personal, do you feel like you are impacting lives?
I know I'm impacting lives.
You know it.
I know it. I mean, and it's not an arrogant thing that I'm saying here. It's something that, if you asked, Mahatma Gandhi or Jesus Christ or Martin Luther King, do you feel like you're impacting lives? And absolutely they would say yes, because that's what they were gifted to do. And what I believe is, if you're gifted to do it and you don't do it, that's the sin. That's the, you're holding back that opportunity that you were gifted with. And, I know I'm making an impact. I know I'm making an impact with these young men. I see their faces. I see how they respond. I see how they look when we bring in a guest speaker. I see that when they get a chance to speak to the mayor, the highest elected official in the city, when maybe their parents have never even met the mayor. And they taking selfies with the mayor and shaking hands and, hey, can you put a basketball court up the street? That's impact, man. To go to a church like I went to in Jacksonville, Texas, this past Saturday, and to speak to somebody in their 50s that never purchased a home because they just always thought they couldn't. Didn't really have a reason why. That's just a story they've been telling themselves. And when I'm able to unravel information and give them actual steps that they can follow, and they like, I'm gonna buy me a house this year. That's impact, And so, yes, I definitely know I'm making an impact.
So, how do you feel that well, what plans are you working on? What projects are you working on that's developed, that's going to be helping your communities develop that much more and have to help them to come from the impoverished levels?
Well, one, the empowerment series, because again, we're bringing in experts from the bank, from the industries to teach them about the basics of banking, which it seems so simple, but it's not easy, right? Things can be simple as 1, 2, 3, but being consistent with 1, 2, 3 is the hard part. So bringing in these experts, I don't know how many people we're going to impact with that program, but we're getting after it. I mean, I've done 3 empowerment series events in the last week, and we're doing 3 to 4 a week, and it's all of us doing it, right? So that's one way that we're going to make a difference. I'm also still actively involved as just a community leader. I'm on the neighborhood advisory committee for the city of Carrollton, which is a role that it's only 9 of us, and there's something known as the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, where the government issues out a certain amount of money to help low to moderate income families, and that money goes from the government to the state to the county, and county to the city. And for the city of Carrollton, I'm one of 9 people that gets to decide how that money gets allocated, and I have a vote on that. And so I'm saying, hey, y'all, don't just throw this money over here to normal nonprofit charity. Let's take a slice of that and dump it into this particular community. That even $50,000 or $75,000 of that money will make a huge difference if you could rebuild that community center, or help them with renovations. And I'm educating the community about the grants that the city offers to renovate your roof, to fix leaky faucets, pipes that are leaking in your community. These are dollars that are just sitting there, and every city has it. But to introduce that information to the community, that's impact. That's how you make a difference. We've talked about the youth. Some of these young men, my hope is that at least 50% of them, if not more, will go out and become leaders of their own in their own communities or wherever they decide to plant their flag. And to also go back with this information and talk to their parents and their other community members about how they can make a difference. This is what it takes. Somebody told me one time, well, if Harriet Tubman can do it, we can do it. One slave at a time she freed, and it just takes getting out here, not being afraid to speak up when something looks incorrect, speaking up when you know about something that most people don't know about, or a majority group knows about and not the minority group knows about, you know what I mean? And,
Right.
you just got to be willing to put your neck on the line, man. It's not always popular, but it's not here to be popular. I'm here to make a difference.
So do you sometimes meet with individuals within the different communities on a one-on-one basis?
I do. And people reach out to me a lot after these events. And do you mind if I keep your information? I love to ask you more questions. Probably at a fault sometimes. I'm a little bit too accessible at times because it's, you go a lot of places, you're gonna meet a lot of people, and a lot of people will follow up. But I've set some parameters now around my time. But yeah, absolutely, I've jumped on calls. People reach out to me last night from the school district. They're helping their kids, so that they can do well at this pitch competition. Victor, will you look at their business plan? What do you see that stands out? Can you help? Is there anything you can share real quickly? These are real life examples I'm giving you, Charles. And, so yeah, one-on-ones, groups, community centers. We make a bigger impact when we can partner with other entities that are already in these communities. And we sponsored a couple Christmas events where we help over 100 families get Christmas gifts, just by a couple $1,000s for the bank is really nothing, but to those families, that's huge. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really just about not taking advantage of things, but leveraging the resources you have to make sure that everybody wins. That's the key for me.
Tell me about these partnerships. I mean, like, are there criteria, or do they kind of like just go as people like want to do these things?
Well, it depends. If you're talking about from the bank side of things, the bank obviously has to make a footprint in certain areas. But again, I really love the bank that I'm with because they've decided to do more than just do some loans, right? They actually want to get with these communities. And trust me, man, on a daily basis, I'm getting emails or phone calls. Would you look over this sponsorship package? Would the bank consider this? And there's all kinds of criteria that, depends on where they are, what's happening, Who are they impacting? Not everything is going to fit into the box or budget that I may have, but I still will guide them and say, hey, look, we may not be able to help you, but based on what you sent me, let me make a couple recommendations. Maybe add a little bit of data here. Maybe make sure you correct your spelling. Make sure that it shows that it's a win-win. People always want to say, well, the bank's got the money, but they ain't got to give the money, right? So sometimes it's just about positioning yourself better too. You can't just expect people to just give you anything. How are you willing to help the bank? How are you willing to show that the dollars that you do get are not going to stay stuck in a little group, in a little corner? This is a big community. How are you going to impact the community with those dollars if you get them? So just being able to share, now that I've been on different sides of the table, sometimes I may not be able to get your sponsorship approved, but I can certainly, you will leave me with more information than you had, and I may even be able to connect you to somebody who I know might be able to help you with that. And so I can't really straightforward answer that question, but there are a lot of ways to get the funding, and there are tons of grants out here, not even just through the banks, but just different nonprofits that will give you money for almost any scenario, especially if you are in an underserved community, you are in what they call a majority minority census tract. There's ways to go and look up the uscensus.gov and look up where your city or your event is being held and get the numbers, present those numbers to the financial institution. And, they probably got to do something in those communities. So maybe they can make a donation if it aligns with what your event is and what they're looking to accomplish.
Oh, wow. So it seems like you guys are actually building Texas out as large as it is already. So
And we're doing our part.
I don't know how much more that could be, but hey, that's a lot. So how do the mentors that work with you when you're doing the mentoring and so forth? How do you pick your mentors that help you out?
Thank you so much for asking that question, because that is exactly where I'm at right now, is adding more mentors to the program, really vetting them out. So, I am part of a nonprofit organization also called King's Accountability Group.org. King's Accountability Group is a 501c3 based out of California. Some brothers that I've, connected with and I grew up in California. So a couple of those guys are guys that I was already connected with over time. We started out as just a Sunday accountability call. A couple of years ago, we decided, and we're up to like 50 members, and guys are in all kinds of parts of the country. Let's start a 501c3. So we started that. That organization, we are big on gratitude and mantras and holding each other accountable to our goals and setting our what are our SMART goals for the upcoming week? What are the wins that we had the past week? It's just a safe place for men to share and grow with each other. And so part of the criteria for the mentors that I'm looking at, especially for the men, for the Pathfinders group, is I want them to become at least involved with that organization, where they can at least be on there for 3 calls before there is a membership for that, an annual membership, but we provide tons of resources there. So that's one of the criteria that I look at. Obviously, a clean background where they have not had any issues with children is a huge one, or even felonies, because the school districts won't allow for that. That's another criteria. And then having a desire not just to be a speaker or to try to make some money somewhere, but to actually want to make an impact on these young folks, right? So those are, a lot of it is just feeling people out, see what their energy is, take a look at what they've been doing, and are they consistent, or are they just trying to, get a gig? You know what I'm saying? And so I am building that out now, where we can add some mentors to the Pathfinders program here in the Dallas, Texas area. But this program, we want to expand it to Texas and then expand it out further than that, again, through some strategic partnerships. But those are the initial criteria that I'm looking for.
So, but with that being said, I mean, like the ones that you have now, did you vet them fully to the point of where you're going now, that they had to really get through this tough test before they were able to do this?
So I only got 2, because we just kicked off the Pathfinders program this year. So the 2 that we got, yes, we did. They followed that same format, and I'm, I'm building that out so that, again, we can attract more that want to be that. Now, there are people who get involved and come in as a guest facilitator or guest speaker. They don't necessarily have to go through that. They do have to follow the district's background check, criteria, which is, they're going to gather some personal information, run that against the database, and if something comes back, they're not going to be able to come in. But everybody we've had that asked about doing it and that I wanted to bring in, they've all passed that background check. And so those people, they're not actual mentors for my program, but they may be a mentor for a day or, something along those lines. So those folks have had to pass the background check.
Oh, wow. In staying out there in the Southwest, can you tell me why Oklahoma instead of Arkansas?
That's a great question. That the bank is a regional bank, so they have been in the Texas and Oklahoma area. I don't think at this time that they have plans to expand out to Arkansas. They have a huge footprint of over 280 banking centers between the two states. This bank is one of the top 10 in this region and top 25 nationally. Over $40 billion portfolio, and they have acquired some other banks over the time. And so as the footprint that they've chosen, they know this market, they know this region, and they've been successful with what they're doing. I have to get back to you on why they haven't selected Arkansas yet, but they are a Texas and Oklahoma bank.
Okay. Well,
sorry to disappoint you.
No, actually, no, that's interesting. The reason why I asked that question is I know that Arkansas and Texas are just so much more closer, just like Texas and Louisiana are. But Oklahoma, even though it's close, it's like further away than those two places. That's why I asked that question.
Good point. Yeah, that is a good question. I think it's really related because this bank has done tremendous with land and farm. And so those two states have a great footprint of that. And I think that was kind of the strategy, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, so in closing, can you tell our guests how is it that they're going to be able to make a connection with you if they got questions, things of that nature that they want to get in touch with you? How can they do that?
They got to visit the website, www.bethevictor.us. Bethevictor.us. Be the victor in your life. Be the victor in your finances. Be the victor in your business, in your health, in your marriage. Bethevictor.us. They can follow me on LinkedIn at Victor V. Johnson, middle initial V, Johnson on LinkedIn. I do a great segment every Monday called Mindset Monday, just tips and guidance on how to get your mind right and to get excited about Mondays again. Monday don't have to be such a humdrum day. It's a day that kicks off your week. So we give them a lot of guidance there. They can definitely subscribe. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Create Your Future Self. So YouTube at Create Your Future Self. I have over 200 and something videos on there, everything from budgeting to credit to inspiration to motivation to home purchasing to investing, lots to health tips. So all of that's in there. So those are ways that they can connect with me for sure.
Well, I want to thank you for blessing us with your presence. And for those that are out there that are connected to the YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the button for the notification. So every time a video goes up, you guys will be notified and you'll be able to see this video with Mr. Johnson as many times as you like to see it. So again, I want to thank you all for spending your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate you again. And hopefully we can have you back on the show again. And I want you guys to please have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.